It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, so you've probably put this together. As we move through the levels of wealth, they kind of build on one another. Once you've kind of gotten stability figured out, it helps you begin to develop your strategy. Well, once you've done strategy and you've been doing it for a while, you enter into this third level of wealth, and we call the third level of wealth security.
Yeah, now, Bo, I want to be honest with everybody because we live in a very give it to me yesterday type society. Yep. And you can't help. I mean, I love social media because we're doing, I think we're doing our virtual classroom for anyone. You're getting your master's degree in wealth building right now as we speak. But there is a dark side in the fact that a lot of people who are out there showing their cars, showing their lifestyle, pitching their courses and other things, they're trying to tell you they got the perfect shortcut.
That's right.
And when I talk about the next level of wealth, where you are in your stages of wealth, security is not one that came quickly.
Nope.
And this is, I think a lot of younger people, and I've shared this stat before, Ramsey Solutions has shown in their research that the typical millionaire is age 49 when they cross $1 million. And in my own personal journey, I didn't feel like I was actually out of that messy middle of trying to fight survival plus also being disciplined and building what's foundationally needed to maximize compounding growth until I was in my early 40s.
Sure.
Now I'm jealous. I think you're going to do it, and you already are doing it, and you're significantly younger, so yours is happening in your mid-30s. I mean, there is something to this security, but I wanted to be transparent and honest that this might not be something that happens overnight. It's going to take a while to get through the financial order of operations and get through the messy middle of life.
So if you're hearing that and you're thinking, okay, well, how do I decide? Like, what are the traits? How do I know if I'm actually in the security phase? Well, here's the first one. You don't just have a plan A, but you've been planning well enough through your strategy phase that you have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. Hey, if something were to happen and I were to pass away prematurely, my family's taken care of. If I were to lose my job, I'm going to be able to pivot here. If the market doesn't deliver 15% rates of return every year, I'm going to be okay because I've done X, Y, and Z. You've not just built a strategy, but you've been able to build a moat around the strategy that you have in place. And you also feel less squeezed every month. Like every month, you kind of feel like, hey, there's a little bit of extra money laying around. Now, one of the great ways we've already said you can combat that is by thinking about forced scarcity. But even when you're doing that and you're hitting that 25% number, you start saying, man, I have a little bit extra. Maybe there's something else I could do. And then because you took care of the big stuff early on, and again, this requires time taking care of the big stuff, the small stuff doesn't matter as much. The 20, I'm gonna use numbers here, I'm gonna age stereotype. The 20-year-old version of yourself and the way that person ordered at restaurants or traveled or made purchase decisions might be different than the 40-year-old version of that person.
There is a risk, though, to that third one because you took care of the big stuff. I do, because I think that, look, we all think when we get out of high school, especially if you're the nerdy kid like, some of us were, that, as financial mutants didn't get here without having a little awkwardness and kind of being out there. I think if you polled the general population, all of us feel like weirdos in some way. Even I tell this to my daughter all the time, is that even the cool kids probably have their own feeling like they're outlanders or weird or things they don't want the public to see. Well, you think when you get older that's going to change? It doesn't. Nope. I mean, you will find it just gets different because you will graduate college and there's this whole risk that you'll overbuy on the car because you're faking your lifestyle. Well, then fast forward to you get older in your 40s. Instead of making small decisions, and by the way, a car is not a small decision, but it's not buying an iPhone or your car payment. Those are big deals, but it's really when you start getting into buying the luxury cars.
That's
when
right.
you start buying the bigger house because you want to keep impressing and you can't figure out, you're on this hedonic treadmill of trying to figure out how do I keep getting those dopamine hits and you never feel satisfied. Those are the decisions that are going to keep you from truly being at security because you're just going to keep pushing for more and more and more. be careful with not making mistakes on those big life decisions.
And look, you're gonna recognize as you come through your wealth journey, just like as we talked about, sometimes you go through the financial order of operations and maybe you have to take a step back for a season. The same thing happens with your wealth journey. You might be a young single person that's been saving and you've been doing awesome, and you're feeling like there's some extra money laying around. You feel like, oh, things feel pretty good, I'm pretty secure. But then you get married. And then you have kids. And then you buy a house. And all these other life that you say, oh man, I got to go back to strategy because now my circumstances have changed. That's okay. That's part of the process. That's part of the journey. Your goal should be to carry out your strategy phase as long as necessary until you can start feeling some of that security, feeling some of that margin. And it does open you up to enjoy the little things. Maybe your little thing is, walk on your burrito without feeling guilty. Maybe that's the thing that you're able to do in the security stage that you would have not done previously.
Well, talk to them about how do you know you're doing it right? Because it is going to let you kind of escape just thinking about yourself. You get to kind of expand this a little bit. Even think about the kiddos a little bit.
Yeah, so here's one of the things that you're probably doing in the security phase. You started thinking about future expenses. And maybe those future expenses are paying for college. Maybe those future expenses are a special vacation. Maybe those future expenses are upgrading the home or upgrading the automobile, or whatever that thing may be. You've started thinking and planning for those. You're not just trying to figure out how you pay for the thing right now, presently in front of you. If you're over 45, you might even consider knocking out some of that low interest debt. Like a mortgage, you might start saying, hey, one of our goals is to be debt-free. And because I feel secure that I've done the other pieces well, I can start focusing on being debt-free and I can start prepaying my mortgage. And now you're able to have a little bit of luxury in your life. That's that whole idea around, you know what, I used to do the what's the flight overnight? Why am I drawing a blank? When you drew a flight and it's overnight and it's
talking about red eye?
Red eye. You used to do the red eye flights because it was the cheapest flight you can get on, and you had to connect six different places, and it took you 10 hours to go 3 hours away.
We don't do those.
At this stage, maybe you're like, you know what, it's okay. I'll pay a little bit more. I'll do the thing. I'll fly. It's okay to have those kinds of luxuries when you're in this phase.
Oh, I am definitely on board with that. I tell my wife all the time, no, any flight that is too early or too late, all you're doing is, yes, you might be getting a deal, but you're borrowing from the memory building that you could be creating. And what I like about this, really what we're focusing on here, when you get to security on level of wealth and where you are in creating this, you're really in steps 8 and 9 of the financial order of operations. That's so powerful. And what I like is how well this all aligns with the financial order of operations. Because I told you, in my own personal journey, I didn't feel like I graduated to this level until I was in those 40s. I'd automated so much of my wealth building through investing and making sure things were happening automatically that once I got to 45, now it wasn't just about wealth building, it was wealth preservation.
That's right.
So you could feel completely comfortable with paying down that low interest debt because it was no longer about maximization. It was about making sure that, hey, we are secure, that we've created a plan. It's a good plan. And then this is what I like, Bo. You like coffee. I mean, we're big coffee drinkers.
Love it.
You hear about the latte effect. That's out the window when you get to stage 3 of security, is because since the big stuff is happening appropriately, if you go, like you said, upgrade the flight, go drink the cups of coffee a few times a week, who cares?
That's right.
Because you have checked the boxes and done it right. Congratulations, you're in the security phase of wealth.